Okay, 10:26 almost. So let's start with these applications. And each application generally will be, we will place in Excel. So here we have two options. The first option is the Fed, which has the assets and liabilities. And there is the bank, which also has assets and liabilities. So let me make it larger. So Fed, from the point of sells 2 million of bonds, that means the securities will be less than -2, securities -2 million, and liabilities, the reserves -2. From the bank, it purchased this amount of assets, so the securities in the assets will be +2, and the reserves -2. The liabilities are not affected. So this is the first problem here. The second problem. What happens to the central banks and commercial banks' reserves and monetary system, or monetary base? Show changes, assume the amount is 10 million. So what will happen in this particular way? So central bank provides a loan to a commercial bank. Central bank provides loan. Okay, let me make this insert rows above. This is task 1. Then task 2. Again, we have federal and bank. If a Fed provides a loan to a commercial bank, what will happen to the, first of all, loan for the Fed, is it asset or is it liability? Loan for the Fed is the asset and it is liability for the bank. So here we place our loan 10 and here loan 10. So borrowing from a central bank. What about the this loan is converted as cash. Here 10 million, and these 10 million in cash should be placed. Actually, it creates the reserves of 10 million by providing the loan. So this is the ending balance of T account for central bank and for commercial bank. Okay. So next, B. When central banks sells securities. Again, this is something like that, but a little bit different for cash. Okay, so if this change takes place, then there is the, okay, B. What happens with the asset of the Fed? Central banks sell securities. So securities for the central banks will be -10. And cash +10 for the Fed. And the opposite actions, different sides. So securities +10, cash -10. something like that. All right, and number C. When commercial bank repays the loan to the central bank. Number C. So we have to reverse the operation which was in A. How can we reverse? Now central banks has provided 10 million loss. The reserves will be minus 10. The assets, the cash will be minus 10. The loans will be minus 10. So this is the repay 10 million loans go down as a liability. It is cash, paid by cash. So the reserves which were created in the central banks will go down by 10 million. Okay. All right. Number 3. If the Fed lends 5 banks a total, but depositors withdraw only 50. It doesn't matter how many banks actually, so we can change the perception. Number 4. We can change the perception of banking system, not the bank, but banking system. And again, the Fed and the bank will be placed in the beginning. The Fed provides, but depositors withdraw. So asset for the Fed loan of 100 over here. Reserves to equalize that also plus 100. What about the bank? What about the bank? Here it was cash, but generally it is reserves plus 100 and loans. So this is the initial operation, initial effects of the loans of the banking system when this 100 million goes to bank. Next here, but depositors withdraw 50 million and hold it as currency. So how can we explain this this effect? Generally, we have to provide additional information for the public. Let's us so initial effect for the public, assets and liabilities. Asset 0, liabilities 0. Or generally, we just place hyphen to stress the fact that there is no change, no effect at all. After the public withdraws 50 million after the initial situation, what will happen with everything? So let me copy that. So public withdraws 50 and the loans will be changed to 50. But loans were converted to checkable deposits. Checkable deposits will be checkable deposits will be what they withdrawn. Maybe this is minus 50. Checkable deposits minus 50. Then a loan should be 100. So now everything is equal. Now everything is equal. We take the loan from the Fed. We provided 50 million for our public. Checkable deposits decreased by 50 million. So we have to take out 50 million out of reserves from the Fed. What about Fed and what about public? First of all, let's create the public. The public got this currency plus 50, and checkable deposits, they are changed by minus 50. This is public. What about Fed? Now Fed provided the same kind of loan. Nothing changed for the loan, but changes for reserves, they involve 50 withdrawn from the banks by providing these loans for public, and currency in circulation. Currency, it increases by 50. Let me be like that. So this is the initial effect from just providing the loan. As we can see, here is the initial effect. The Fed provided the loan. Banks increased 100 million for the reserves inside the Fed. These reserves are assets. Banks can convert them to the loans for the public. And liability, this is just the liability we need to repay. The bank need to repay the liability for the Fed. Public is not affected initially. Then public takes 50 million from the checkable deposits. They increase their currency holdings. From the point of view of the public, checkable deposits minus 50, currency plus 50. If checkable deposits go down by minus 50, then they should be equalized with the withdrawn of reserves. So reserves change from 100 to 50. And these reserves effects, these are the same reserves as an asset for the bank, they are liability for the Fed. So they change. And to equalize the Fed's balance, the currency, this currency should be placed as the liability of the central bank. So the logic is like that, and generally you have to practice your T accounts more, like, to understand what is actually happening here. So let's go down to number 4, right? Number 4, using T account, show what happens to checkable deposits if in the banking system when the Fed lends. Okay. So once again, maybe I'll give you some time and you try to feel those values. Let me open chat. All right, so the Fed lends 1 million. Where this 1 million will be, and the asset or liability for the bank? Bank receives money. This is the liability for the bank, the loan. This loan is at the same time an asset for the Fed. How can we equalize this loan? we can equalize this loan only with the reserves. So reserves will increase by 1 and reserves increase by 1 over here. So this is the T account initial effect. Happens to checkable deposits when the bank, when the Fed lends 1 million to the First National Bank. Okay, so we may continue this line of discussion. What will happen then if what should happen for money supply to increase to 10 million? So the bank, the Fed provided 1 million, and if the money multiplier is 10, it should end up with $10 million in money supply. So how can we show that change with the money multiplier here in T accounts? So the general change in the Fed will be like that. It remains unchanged because the Fed only influence here the monetary base, and it stands that banks should have should place 10% in the excess reserves. So this is the effect of on the money multiplier. The Fed sets monetary base will be 1 million, and the money multiplier will be 10%, and that's it. Now it is the part of the deal from the point of view of the bank. What the bank can do. First of all, it should provide loans. And we are talking about not the single bank, because the single bank cannot provide that much loans, but the banking system. The banking system can provide that. And the banking system should provide loans plus 10 using that. So we, the first bank provides 900,000 loans and places 10% to the excess reserves, then the next bank, then the next bank, and altogether they provide 10 million loans. And how to equalize these 10 million loans? We have to equalize them with checking deposits. Checking deposits, they should also be like plus 10. So everything is equal right now and pretty perfect. So if on the each part of the deal, each bank provides 90% and places only 10% to excess reserves. If public uses everything, if the public uses everything and do not hold currency, it just uses all the currency, then it should be like that, like 10 times multiplier, and money supply changes to this amount, to 10 million. Number five. So what about, this was number 4, right? Number 5. What happens with the checkable deposits in the banking system when the Fed sells 2 million of bonds? So maybe you'll be able to calculate it by yourself. You just pause the video and try to do it yourself. For this type of question, we sell 2 million of bonds. So instead of providing the loan from the bank, we produce the open market operation, which involves selling. this is pretty neat. If the Fed sells, so the assets, banking, the federal bank has some kind of securities, and this security go down by -2, and these securities should be shown here in the security +2. So the banking system bought them. Reserves, they changed to -2 because we used money from the reserves, and the liability here, the reserves, also go down by 2 million. So this is the result of an open market sale. So if we sell securities, then the money supply go down because the reserves decrease in the banks, and less loans will be provided. And only 2 questions remain, the number 6 and number 7. So number 6. If the Fed buys 1 million. By the way, let us get back to number 5. Maybe we can say something more about this line of events. So actually, if in the previous option we provided 1 million and then we got money supply changed by +10, how much money supply will change if we sell 2 million, and how to use T account to demonstrate this change. So initial sell was 2 million, reserves decreased by 2 million. That means loans will be decreased. Here loans were increased by +10 because 10% ratio. And here 10% ratio will give us the change in loans will be -20. Loans will be -20. And they will be equalized with the checkable deposits, which are -20. So the whole money supply will be less than 20 if everything goes in the way the Fed wants. Okay, so number 6. Number 6. So you can see how previous 2 operations influence checkable deposits. So the total increase in checkable deposits will be by how much? So let's provide the same kind of reasoning here. We will use the Fed and the banking system. Initially buys 1 million, so securities here increased by +1. The reserves here, they increase +1. Liabilities are not affected initially, but the securities -1, the banking system sells reserves, reserves +1. So this is the initial effects of open market operational defect. Then using these extra reserves, the banking system should provide loans, and it provides how much? If there were no excess reserves, it provides 10 million. Here on each step, 10% withdrawn. What will be here? So the bank should hold 20% of deposits as reserves. Only lend 80%. So instead of lending initially 90, we start lending initially 80. And this will be like that: 1 plus 0.8 plus 0.64 and so on. This will be 0.512, 4096 and so on. So if we sum this up, this row, it will end up with 5 million. So it actually will be 5 million. And the effect is the same: 1 minus 1 minus 1 divided by 1 minus 0.8, 1 over 1 over 0.2. This is 5. So this row ends with 5. Let's show that the loans from this +1, they are not, then they are 5, and checkable deposits to equalize also 5. This is the effect of additional 10% on each deposit. Okay. And the last question, number 7. So what can we say here? Why isn't the banking system in equilibrium? Yeah, it is not in the equilibrium because there are extra excess reserves, and so how much? 1 billion of reserves in the banking system minus 900 million required reserves. 10% of the 9 billion. This is 1 billion, right? The excess reserves will be lent out until equilibrium is stated. So let's demonstrate this number 7. Number 7, the banking system is what we need. We are talking about banking system here. Reserves as the asset. If the reserves increased by 1 billion plus 1 billion. What about, because the Fed lends, so there is the loan plus 1 billion. Okay. Then checkable deposits increased by 9. Checkable deposits increased by 9 billion. if reserves increase by 1 billion because the red line's 1 billion, checkable deposits increase by 9 billion. So how much were should be checkable deposits? If reserves here, reserves, the loans provided, there are 10 billion, checkable deposits should be 10 billion. So the banking system is still not in equilibrium because there continues to be 100 million of excess reserves. The excess reserves will be lent out. And so these excess reserves will end up with 10 checkable deposits, not 9. Excess reserves, they end up with 1 billion checkable deposits. So that's why it is not in the equilibrium. And the equilibrium in the banking system will be with this T account. Okay. Any questions? For those who are watching video, send questions to email if you have any. Hopefully there will be. I'll provide you a couple of tasks for assignments. I'll place it in about like 15-20 minutes. And there's data lab. Data lab is easy, only 2 tasks there. So everything should be okay. We later on will continue our study of banking system and supply process. There should be a couple of models, and then we'll have mock exam and final exam on weeks 17 and 18. Again, don't worry about your grading. Everything will be fine with this money and banking. Okay. All right. Bye.
Professor?
Yes. Thanks.
I have a question about tomorrow's test. Like week 13, you didn't put the PPT file or the slides for macroeconomics.
Week 13, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Do I have any for macroeconomics? Not for money in banking. Macroeconomics.
No slides.
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll provide slides. I'll check and provide slides. No problem.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. See you. Any other questions? All right then. See you on. There will be also a pre-recorded video for macroeconomics, because this is online teaching for these subjects preliminary. All right, so see you in person, online, I think, in information analysis and finance. All right, bye.